Hi, I'm Ross Tayler, your host and guide for Sacred Sundays, a space to slow down, tune in, and return to what's sacred within and around you. I'm also a life coach who supports empaths and sensitive souls, guiding them on the journey back to self-acceptance and inner alignment. My passion is connecting with like-minded souls, and these conversations are part of fulfilling my purpose and serve to deepen our collective exploration of what it means to live in connection with the sacred. Some weeks you'll hear a sound-based offering to open the space, other times we'll simply begin in conversation. However it unfolds, this is an invitation into presence, connection, and the beauty of the unseen. If you enjoy these conversations, please subscribe, rate, and share so others can find their way here. So pour a cup of tea, settle in, and let's begin. Today on Sacred Sundays, our guest is Sara Troy. Sara was born with a unique gift. From a young age, she could recognize the hidden potential within others. Over her life, she has worked both professionally and as an advocate to help people lead more purposeful, meaningful, and productive lives. She believes that when we connect to others through the soul with an open heart and a passionate spirit, we awaken our minds to see the world in an illuminating way. Through her podcast platform, Self-Discovery Wisdom Podcasts, and her community site, Orchard of Wisdom, Sara celebrates and supports individuals who are making a positive impact. Her programs include insightful podcasts, collaborative books, and the Mentors Practitioners Fund Action programs, showcasing mentors and changemakers who are devoted to serving humanity. All part of her mission to ignite our souls, open our hearts, uplift our spirits, and expand our minds to see life's wisdom in new ways. Welcome, Sara. So happy to have you on the Sacred Sundays podcast.
Delighted to be here.
And you and I previously had a conversation for your podcast, so we just get to continue the conversation, which is really awesome.
We do. This time I'm on this side and you're on that side.
Absolutely. In your bio, it said that you had tapped into your gifts from a very young age, and that feels like a good place to start. Maybe you could share with us how they came to be and what you noticed and how that has influenced the path going forward.
As a child, I suppose I downloaded what people needed to know when they needed to know it, even though I didn't understand what it was I was revealing. And people would say, "Can you repeat that?" No. Do you know what you just said? No. I was just there to tell them something they needed to know. And I didn't question it because it just comes through you. It's spent. I also, what I say, play with dead people. I would see entities that come to tea with me. Nobody else could see them. So I couldn't go past the graveyard without everybody talking to me. So I've always had that open channel. But I was a very sickly child. So I spent a great deal of time in bed, like weeks at a time, and with white walls. That's why I hate white walls. And I would go off into other dimensions. And so it was very often worlds melding together. I think my family just thought I was a daydreamer. Then my mum was very fey, so she picked up on it. But I was just a dreamer. But really, no, I was just living in a different dimension and tapping in here now and again.
And it sounds like you hung on to those gifts rather than suppressing them, which is kind of a unique part of it. Or did you have to suppress them in some ways?
Every time I did suppress them, I would lose myself. So when I stepped out of my spiritual self and I stepped into the human expectation, I would lose myself and end up putting myself in a situation where I would be taken advantage of. And then, just constantly bending into a pretzel, trying to be what others want you to be because you want to fit in. You don't want always to be the odd one. It always was detrimental to me. So I kind of, from a very long time, battled between the human expectation and the spiritual divine presence. But later in life, much, much later in life, I managed to merge the two together.
And when did you kind of put two and two together? Because I imagine a lot of people, they have these gifts, but they don't realize that they're gifts. They just accept them as normal. At some point, that must have really shifted for you. When did that happen?
Yeah, I think when those gifts happened, I was in a very tumultuous marriage.
Okay.
So that marriage I retreated into myself to protect my spirit. because it was always on the attack. And I just lived in the humanoid self. And I was a reader, I was a spiritual counselor, although I could still do that. I kind of couldn't apply it to myself.
Hmm.
Um, and so for quite a number of years, I was in hiding, just in order to protect myself. Um, and then it's 94. There was a woman with a pendulum, and I had this constant blockage like a brick wall. Couldn't go over it, through it, under it. It was just in my way, like a hand on the chest, saying you can't go any further. And at that time, released 174 lifetimes from me. And that took the wall down. And then it was a discovery over the next few years in that tumultuous relationship with 3 children, in my own self-discovery of who am I now? Where am I meant to go? What am I meant to do with this? And is when my freedom started, and then my own discovery platform, and then discovering another 50 lifetimes that needed to be released. So, it was all about letting go and embracing who I am now. But it's not something that happens overnight. It's something that is a gradual journey as you allow. It's always a discovery.
Totally. And wow, I mean, 174 plus 50 other
Yes.
lifetimes. That's
I've been here
amazing.
a long time.
Wow. What did that really feel like on the other side? Because it's interesting sometimes, like I can relate to sometimes feeling like there's something I can't quite tap into that is blocking the path, right? And you're speaking to that.
I have a program called Review of Life, which I take people through, and it's amazing of how many. It's just a little metaphorical journey and what it reveals. And it's amazing of how many people are living what I call the expectation path and not embracing their divine path, what they're really here for. And a lot of the time we don't recognize that because so much of today's world and our past ancestral DNA, our past life DNA is still running on old programming, dictating how we should be today. When you let go of that, you almost feel a little vulnerable. But at the same time, it's like a breath of fresh air. Kind of imagine yourself naked on the top of the mountain and there's a lovely breeze of wind and, you can feel it. It's lovely. But it's like what you do with it. And the voices or the feelings or whatever you receive guiding you forward, it's a new language that you kind of have to learn.
Hmm.
Make sure that none of that past stuff kind of finds its way back in, or recognize it and know what to do with it.
Right. And you're making me think of once we have that clarity, we kind of still have to be in both worlds.
Yes, yes, yes.
Right. And I think that's definitely a dilemma that I face on
Mhm.
certain levels of I still need to be in this 3D reality and play that out in a certain way, but be in it in a different way from my side. But that's complex. And I think part of what you said was making that kind of leap to the other side in faith and trust, and that's not easy when we're connected through family that might have different views. There's a lot of friction that can happen.
And it's okay to close doors or find different ways of channeling with them. Like I have a sister that actually thinks the work that I do is I'm a do-gooder communist because she has no understanding of what I am or what I do. And for a long time, I closed doors on her because I just said, I'm just not accepting any of this. And then when the door opened again, we play in our channel. Don't go on that channel. Don't go on that channel. There's no comprehension. She's very heavy into politics. I'm not into that channel.
Right.
If we stay in this channel of the common denominator, we're fine.
Right.
Right. And I think that's the thing, is that a lot of people think they have to close the doors on everybody completely. And some people you do, you have to. And some people, it's like, take a step back, discover who you are and why you are. Then you're more able to see which channel you can open, where you can still have interaction with family, especially on a level where boundaries, we're staying in the channel. And it can be done, but you need that time on your own first to discover your own boundaries, your own essence, your own being, before you can actually start opening up those channels with everybody else.
And right there is the crux of it all, because you haven't mentioned it yet, but in previous conversations, you've talked about the idea of being an empath and a sensitive. And
Yes.
so the orientation of that is about trying to fix everyone in front of us and change their ways of being so that we can feel better in the world.
Yes.
And yet what you just said is, returning to ourselves and turning inward. And I think that's the hardest step. Well, one of the hardest steps to take. What would you like to say about that?
100%. 100%. That to place forgiveness on yourself, to place nurturing and kindness on yourself, to allow yourself to receive when you've been a giver,
Mm-hmm.
right? A healer, giver, nurturer, when you've been all of that, and now the universe is saying, no, it's your turn. All right, we're going to help you. We're going to nurture you. We now need you to say no to something and go in and heal yourself. It's one of the hardest journeys because you almost, as an empath and a spiritual healer, whatever, and where you are, is you feel it's your duty to be out there. And in a sense it is, but not at the cost of self. And that's the biggest problem. It's always at the cost of self. Our well-beingness, our mental well-beingness, our spiritual well-beingness. And if we're not fortified, if we're not in a right equilibrium within ourselves, we really are no good to anyone else. The hardest lesson to learn is to place value upon yourself, right? The importance of you, not self-importance. That's an ego thing, but the importance of you. And that for you, in order to be able to step up and help someone else, first you must help yourself and receive help from others.
Mm-hmm. And you're speaking to elements that are easy to understand when we hear them,
Yeah.
but to put them into place is another thing. I remember having a channeler tell me that, when you go back home after this experience I had, she says, when you go back home, practice receiving. And so, of course, the universe organized and gave me opportunities immediately to receive. And to say yes to those things was so incredibly hard.
Yes.
Like it made sense conceptually, but I had been in relationships where I had lost my entire sense of self. I had lost my sense of what was true and what wasn't. And so, those are the other things that we're trying to work through as we make these steps into turning towards ourselves. It's a wild journey.
Who am I now?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And, we kind of almost feel, I'm walking away from my purpose. No, you're not. You're defining your purpose by defining who you are, why you are, and what you're here to do. We realize it's not in the amount we do. It is in the depth of what we do. Right. And I call it, I think I may have mentioned this on our show because I do mention it a lot, the sunny side of the street, right? And the sunny side of the street is across the road are all the people that have been through it. They've walked the path and they're there now to help you on your journey. But you've got to come out of the dark and start walking on that road and start recognizing who can help you when.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because it's not all at once. There's no one size fits all. This person's going to help you open this and that person's going to help you open that. How to recognize who can help you when, but you've got to come out of the dark. We can't go in after you. I used to go into the dark and try and rescue people only to be my light to be swallowed up.
Right.
And then some people say it's too bright. Okay, come out onto the pathway, walk parallel until you adjust to the light and then step out. But until you ask for help, we can't help you. It's called free will.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't give us free will to help, then we're imposing.
Right.
Right. And as empaths or healers or anything, that free will to allow somebody else to help us is something that we've got to get out of our own way and allow. And yes, it is very much, I should do it myself. I can do it myself. And I did for a very long time. But in 13 and a half years of doing this and the amount of people that I've learned from for the shows that I do and that have helped me along the way, that discovery of self that I've made along the way has become my freedom of self, my alignment, my truth, and opening up my core to being the guider and the compass of my life. But you've got to be willing to step out onto that sunny side of the road and allow people to help you.
Yeah. I love that metaphor. I love the visual of it because it is about crossing the street and it is about being the one to choose to cross the street.
Yes.
And you're also reminding me of times on my journey where I didn't actually believe that help was going to help. Like,
Mm.
like that trust piece, like, oh, are you really going to be able to help me? And in that, it's like, can I really open up so that you can help me? It's such an interesting paradox because we are sensitive, but we've also had these experiences where people weren't there for us and we had to go at it alone. And so it's a very challenging dilemma to have to work through to get to the other side of the street and really believe that people are there for you and that they're the right people and that they're coming from their hearts.
And today it's so much easier because your podcast, my podcast, we're presenting the people that are there, right? Or, my mottos on my shows are listen, learn, and apply, right? Because there's somebody that you've listened to that if you apply
Mm-hmm.
or if you reach out to them, they are the ones that are going to guide you in the next phase of life. But, we've only had this in the last 15 or so years, this type of ability of podcasting, TED Talks, being able to reach people. So in my recovery, my self-discovery, there wasn't any of this. I started writing. My brother still has an online magazine, so I'd write for him. I'm dyslexic, so I couldn't write until I got a computer.
Okay.
Because writing by hand, I couldn't read my own writing, and never mind, correcting it after too frustrating. But once I got a computer, the correcting became something much easier, and I found my voice. And that actually freed me a great deal, is finding my voice and just allowing it to express. Today, it's so much easier because there are so many ways you can do it now with so many people at your fingertips that there is kind of no excuse. We just didn't have that kind of support. And it was still very woo-woo and cloak and dagger type of thing, where I've never understood. Spirit isn't about boundaries, it's borders. It's not about walls. It's not about cloak and dagger and being secretive about it. It's about being free,
Mm-hmm.
completely free to be in spirit in everything that you do. So there was a lot of spiritual type of churches and things that I kind of went to, and all I found is just another look on religion. So, we have a choice today, which we didn't
Mm-hmm.
used to have.
Yeah. And you mentioned a little while ago, you mentioned purpose, and purpose is the result, I believe, of the struggles we've been through and the medicine that we bring back to the world from the healing we've given ourselves. And in the intro, you said that you really help people understand the hidden potential within them. What would you like to say about that? Because we're all looking for meaning in
Yes.
something or in ourselves or in life. But you're talking about revealing what's hidden within us. And I love that.
And it's not something that I choose to do, it chooses me to do. And I've just come across people in my life in various different stages of life, and that I see them from the inside out. I see who they really are. And in some cases, they haven't liked the fact that I see them because they're living this facade and they've even fooled themselves. And I see who they really are. But then for other people, they're trying to be X, Y, and Z. And I go, this is who you are. This is the path that is before you. You have to walk it. All I can do is show you the map, right? And it's not about the destination. It's always about the journey. Right. And I can show you the map and where it can all take you, but you've got to make that free will choice in order to walk it. But for so many people, rather like us, they were trapped in the expectation,
Mm-hmm.
and the soul was screaming out to them of, no, that is not who you're meant to be. This is the path you're meant to take.
Mm-hmm.
And I just never know when or will never know who. I just see what I'm meant to see.
Right. And it can feel like a tremendous jump off the cliff to make those
Mm-hmm.
choices because
Mm-hmm.
there's literally I always think of the hero's journey. Like there's a death that needs to happen in order for that new beginning to come around.
Yes.
And depending on how entrenched you are in that way of seeing the world, the more intense that jump is going to be.
I say step out into the abyss, blind, deaf, and dumb, in order to see, hear, and feel. That's that leap of faith. And sometimes that leap of faith is the first step, right? We're not meant to have a roadmap. We can have an understanding of, if you walk that way 20 paces, you're going to go off a cliff. Yes, we would like to know. And this is what I also call about fear. Fear is your companion. It stops you from walking off the cliff or walking into the lion's den or walking into the fire. Pay attention to those instincts that say no. Fear isn't something to stop you from opening the door to wonderment. That's society. That society blocking that entrance. It doesn't want you to be free because then they have no control.
Right.
We take back our control when we step in blind trust, when we surrender, when we allow, when we step out in wonderment and discovery and take the common sense fear with us to guide us, to keep us safe, keep our channels open for all those directions that they want to take us in, but in trust and in
Mhm.
unison with the universal wisdom.
And you've done over 3,000 podcast episodes.
Yes, I've done over 3,000. I did have hosts for a while, so they've done around about 800. But yes, I've done about 3,000 myself. Yeah.
And what have you learned? Like, if you were to pick the top 3 themes, I would imagine that there's some consistent things that
Yeah.
show up again and again. What would you want to say about those things?
What I'm absolutely loving, that no matter what the subject is, and I have 19 different genres. So whether I'm talking about spirituality or health, mental health, children, veterans, music, sensuality, it does animals, it doesn't matter what the topic is that if people are coming from the heart, they're coming in spirit. And, I have a business genre. And one of the things I love about the business genre is how people have stepped into that higher consciousness. They want to do business, not from the cutthroat 6 figures, trample over everybody to get there, but from the empowerment of the person that they're serving, the liberation and the enlightenment for people. And it's just wonderful to see this change in the whole business demographic. And I have interviewed ambassadors, leaders that are out there that are working with governments to change that consciousness. And it's wonderful to see. So for all the people that look only at the doomsday of the crap that's going on,
Mhm.
underneath it, there has been for so long now, people shifting the current. And the current now is going to change the waters altogether.
Mhm. I love that. And it reminds me of some of the simplest teachings that I've come across on my journey. I mean, there was a book that I read years ago, which really came down to, do you want to choose love or do you want to choose fear? Like,
Yes.
it's one of those two things. And you're
What you water will fear grow, right?
right. Exactly. It seems like we're really at a bit of a turning point. You
Mm.
just mentioned like these old agendas, the agenda of love that's trying to emerge. What would you say to people that are navigating all of this info? Because there's so much information out there that we can take in about all of this. But what would you say from your experience? Where are we at right now? What can we expect? What do you think is really going on?
When you've been gathering an awful lot of junk for a long time and then suddenly you've really got a clean house, right? Maybe you're going to sell it, or maybe in-laws are coming. Then suddenly you've got to address all the stuff that you've put on the chair, on the table, in the corner, crammed into cupboards. And when you start systematically going through it, one step at a time, you realize, why am I keeping this? I don't need it. Throw it out, throw it out,
Hmm.
throw it out. And then you realize that the simplicity of keeping things that are vibrationally serving you. Now, I love antiques. I love the way they speak to me. I love the history and the life that's in them, right? For some people, they're like minimalistic. Once they have something of nature in there because nature does speak to you. But it's that cleaning house, that cleaning everything out. Now, in a kind of a deep breath, you can see it more clearly. You've got this kind of clean slate. And it's like, where are you going to go from here? You've
Hmm.
decluttered. And I think what we've seen in the last couple of years is the house clean. What we had to do is register that we had become, what do they call it when people pack everything all the time? Gosh,
But like hoarding,
hoarding.
hoarders.
We've become hoarders of useless stuff. And what we've looked at in the last couple of years, politically, world leaders, war, and everything else, is that hoarding of old paradigms, of old thoughts, of old archaic points of view. And what it's done is the hoarding has come to the surface. And we realize, okay, we're drowning in it. You're drowning in it. Everybody's drowning in it. It's time to clean house. And what we realize is that this isn't a one-person job. We've all got to get in there and do it together. And so my belief for 2026, and it's going to be, we're not going to clean overnight. There's a lot of mess to clean up, but we're rolling our sleeves up. I started a new genre last year called the Sisterhood of Common Sense Love and all the men that love and support them. And the reason I started that, because I do believe it's the women rolling up their sleeves and going, I don't like this behavior. We're going to change it, right? And get in there and clean house and sort things out and set things in the right direction for personal accountability, personal growth, and also for community.
Mm-hmm.
We can't help community until we help ourselves. We
Mm-hmm.
have to take accountability for our own choices. What are we feeding? And what are we doing to clear things out? What are we doing to fortify ourselves? And then how do we bring that to the community that fortifies the community? So I believe that 2026 is that clearing out, because we realize the garbage has just got too high.
Mm-hmm. And from what you just said, I believe that there's an energy playing through this needed change, which is, you could call it masculine energy that's needing to be cleared, and then the feminine energy rising to support
Mother
this
energy.
change.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so can you say anything more explicitly about that? Because I think it needs to be said, like, we are in the time of the divine feminine rising, and
Yes.
the masculine energy can only see things in limited ways. And it is that old way of hanging on.
It's the old way of hanging on that even most masculine realize isn't serving. Right now, when we look at the people that have tried to turn the clock back, that are looking at the dominance, that are looking at all rule and power, they're people that are lost within themselves. People of real power are people that are self-assured in who they are, what their purpose is, and what they're here to do to serve humanity. Not
Mm-hmm.
if humanity serve them. For various people like that, they're called the third dimensioners, they're already gone. Those that still choose to live in that paradigm, they're gone. The bridge is broken. The fourth dimension, fifth and higher, they're already separated. And this is the reason why there's so much angst going on with them, because they know they've already been severed. They had the choice 14 years to move over, and they didn't. It is obsolete. What we need to address now are the younger men, the boys, that don't want to live in that old paradigm anymore, don't want to be masculine energy and brute force and all of that. They don't want that. They want their sensitivity to come out. And it doesn't mean being gay. If you are, who cares? But it's about being sensitive and understanding they could be masculine in their sensitivity. And I think if we turn to the men and empower them, embrace your heart and soul, let your spirit guide you forward. Be that person that has that compass and that core inside of you to guide you everything that you're doing. We are going to build a far better masculine force that's going to support women and women support men, and we're going to see a society that isn't so divided between men and women. We're going to understand each other's strengths and each other's weaknesses. That's where it says, I bring my strength, you bring your strength. When we come together, our strengths are united, and then becomes unstoppable and unbreakable. But I feel that we have to change the way young men are brought up, the way young men are allowed to be. We have to encourage them that sensitivity, encourage that empathicness to come out, encourage them to ask questions, and that it's okay to feel, and that you don't have to live by this machoism that really, quite honestly, all it has ever done is create war and death.
Uh-huh.
All. You look at history, it is testosterone going to war. I am a man because I've just beaten a whole load of skulls together. No, you're a man when you can stand in your truth, in your spirit, in your heart, in your soul, and you're here to contribute the gift that you are to mankind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've been leading men's groups for the last 12 years. I've been walking that path, and one of the things that I notice is that we're all sensitive on underneath all of that. So
Yes.
I think really what you're speaking about, it's not really about gender, it's really about wholeness and returning to the wholeness of who we all are independently. And when we all have that connection to all of ourselves, we are more open to what needs to happen. And I love what you said at the end. I got chills when you said it, because there is so much that is missing, and we need each other to be able to find that place. Like, we each have a role that we can play, but we can only play that role once we've done our independent healing. And we've hurt each other in so many ways. And that's why it's taking time, I believe, for that pendulum to swing.
I think, when things are enough is enough,
Mm-hmm.
right? When enough is enough. And it's like, it just can't carry on anymore.
Mm-hmm.
This just can't carry on anymore. That's when you kind of know it's time for the change.
Mhm.
Right? And I think that's where we're at right now. It's that we can't carry on anymore the way we're going. So that means we have to change. But that doesn't mean only a few of us have to change. That means all of us have to change. And when we all change, then we truly do understand the gift that we are and what we're here to do and why it's so important to do it. But it is understanding it's not waiting for the change out there to happen or the leaders to change. If we want change, we need to be the change, we need to be the love, we need to be the peace, and then we bring about the change collectively that automatically will change the laws.
Right. And I think I recently was looking, I mean, you live in the same place I do, and driving through parts of Nanaimo, you see the struggle and the pain and the impact of some of these things in society, and the main thing being homelessness and people on the streets. And I asked myself the question, it's like, why can we not solve this problem? And I think the answer that I come back with is, well, what if we looked at it from the sense of love? Like, if it wasn't about money, if it wasn't about these structures that are in place, like if we could cut through all of that, what would we do as a society? And why aren't we doing it? It's so
Right.
interesting to look at because it doesn't make sense. And I know it's a complex problem, but at the same time, with what you said earlier, what would love do?
Yeah. Yeah. And if we come from a place of love, if
Hmm.
we come from that place of love, and we truly do actually understand, a lot of people talk about the heart, and it's great that people are talking about the heart. Put your heart in it, come from the place of the heart, but they're forgetting about the soul, because the soul is the wisdom. It's the universal wisdom, God, universe, spirit, source, energy, whatever you want to call it. It is the wisdom that guides the heart in truth, that guides the spirit in action, that gives us the clarity of mind. And the heart is so very, very important because it holds the truth. But if we don't listen to the source, the soul, then how are we going to know what steps we need to take in order to make things better? Heart intention, absolutely. But that's still, if you've just heart, you're still listening to the mind. If you're listening to the soul, the mind is overridden. And it's only what you need to know when you need to know it comes forth in clarity, rather than the mind getting in the way. And the mind, if it gets in the way, is da 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 da. Next thing you know, you've talked yourself out of everything.
I mean, you're speaking to like a next level way of being in the world,
Mm-hmm.
which
Yes.
it's going to take time to get there, which is what you're speaking to as well.
And you asked me earlier about, where I am. And
Hmm.
and this is it. I found my way here, where unapologetically I am now. Listen to the very core of my being, which is my complete direct channel to the universal wisdom. And if something does not feel right, I don't have to go, but why? No, it doesn't feel right. Until it feels right, I'm not going to do it. I've learned to say no, which, as you know, is hard. And I don't need to justify that no, right? That no is no for a reason.
Hmm.
And that's the important thing. It's understanding the compass, the guidance system,
Hmm.
being true to yourself, and understanding it's the universe that's showing us the way. We are divine spirits having a human existence. And if we don't allow that, we're just not going to get there in that beautiful embracement of all that we can be. So we do have to surrender to our divine.
And you just mentioned being able to say no. And I was recently watching this TV show where the main character is essentially saying yes to anybody and everybody, family, friends. Can you do this? Yes. Can you do this? Yes. And as the viewer, you can see the train wreck happening. You can
Yes.
see the lack of connection to self, saying yes when you actually mean no. You could see the energy of it. And yet the character keeps doing it. And it'd be interesting if we could see ourselves
Yes.
doing those things, because we can see it so clearly when it's outside of us. But
Mm.
when we're in it, it's so hard to see it. And so from your journey, what would you say to folks that are stuck in that unconscious loop? And it is a loop. It just keeps
Oh, it
going and
is.
going until we stop it.
You just said the word, stop it.
Mm,
We have to stop. We have to remove ourselves from the loop. We have to go in and just sever the loop altogether And we can't do that if we continue to do. It's okay for you to say, I need time out. From family, from friends, from work, from everything out there.
Mm-hmm.
I need a blank space where I can hear and feel myself. And I can't do that if in the loop. I have to get out of the loop and put myself in a safe place that I don't just jump into another loop. And then when you're in that safe place and you have that breath and you start really feeling what you're trying to say to yourself, please hear that, feeling what you're trying to say to yourself, right? Because what you're hearing is still old doctrine. And when you feel it, then you're now beginning to hear the truth. You're now beginning to really feel what it is you're meant to do, and you can see the canvas that you're meant to draw on. You can't do that in the loop. You have to stop everything. And somebody, well, I can't do that. I can't. Well, you take a break, you take a holiday, you take a hiatus, you do whatever. If you're within the family, you just have to say, I'm going to do about my everyday duties, but just right now understand if I'm not responding to you, is I'm just needing to take some time out to recalibrate myself. And if you have children, what you're doing is teaching your children that it's okay for them to do the same, that it is necessary for them to do the same. If you have a spouse or partner, you're showing them it's okay if you say, I'm sorry, I'm switched off right now. We need that switch off time. We desperately need that in order just to decompress, recalibrate, know where we're at. Otherwise, we're just going to continuously go around in that loop.
I think it was 2011. I had what I called my stop therapy moment. And at the time I was working for Starbucks. I'd been there for a number of years. And it was around this time of Christmas. It was like November or something. And I grabbed the front door to go into work. And in that moment, I knew, I was like, I can't do this anymore. If I keep going, I'm going to lose it. It's not going to be good. And it was one of those divine interventions where I walked 2 doors down to the medical clinic and there was nobody in there. And I got right in to see the doctor. And within minutes, I had 2 weeks off work, which became 3 months off work. And I'm so grateful for that time, but it was so hard. The guilt, the shame, I really believed that if I wasn't there, that particular store was going to close without me.
Yeah, because we put that pressure on ourselves, right?
And I learned very quickly that was just a myth.
Or somebody's imposition on you.
Sure.
Right. Oh, you don't be so selfish. Everything's going to fall to pieces if you leave.
Sure.
Well, what they're doing then is looking at people as expendable. Oh, well, he's burnt out. We'll just put somebody else in there.
Right. And I do want to say that Starbucks was amazing in terms of supporting my journey of mental health and everything that I was doing. But I know what you're saying. There was a lot of external energy that was coming at me because for the first time I stopped. I started to connect with myself. I connected with nature. There was all these things that were happening that were such foreign concepts, to have space and time in my life when I had spent my entire life go, go, go. And I bring this up because I imagine there's people out there feeling exactly the same and wondering what to do.
Well, you just said another word, magic, nature. Now, if we actually understand, I don't know if you've seen these little video reels on Facebook where they are recording plants.
Yes, I've heard about this. Yes.
And it shows they have, they can choose an instrument, but it is the music coming from the plants, from the trees, from the flowers, from nature itself. When we actually understand the impact of going into nature, right? Trees talk to you. Trees talk to you, not to your mind, right? It's not saying, hello, George, how are you? No, it's nothing like that. It is speaking to your soul, to the very being, all the fiber optics in your own body. It's speaking to the sensory of you. And just walking through trees, it's giving them your problems, right? Just feel them, hug them, but be a part of them. The other thing is water. Walking along the shore, letting your feet be in the water, immersing if you can, if it's not too cold. It cleanses. It's a conduit and it cleanses. The wind, letting it blow away the cobwebs. My 3 things that are absolutely important to me: water, breeze, and trees. I have trees around me all the time. I am less than a kilometer from the water and we get a great deal of breeze here. So I'm always feeling movement and flow. One of our biggest problems is stagnation. Stagnation in thought, in heart, and soul, in being. We need to get out there amongst the flow, which nature is always in flow, to reignite our own flow within ourselves.
The reflection that we get, the reflection that I've received over the years in nature, it's undeniable.
Yeah.
The trees aren't running around trying to figure things out. They're solid in themselves.
And they don't care. They don't care if you're a willow or you're an oak. There is no judgment. They don't care if you've fallen down and dead, because life will come from you. If we could be like a forest, just imagine how strong we would be.
Right. And we are like a forest, and
Yeah.
it just looks different.
We're not listening to our connection. We're looking for differences rather than looking at how we can matrix together in our own strength. And, the Judi Dench did a wonderful documentary on trees where they did time loop camera thing and just show all those threads of connecting between everything, the way they can communicate. And as I said, now with these devices, they're listening to how all the plants, mushrooms essentially, and all of these things, how they communicate. They are creating a symphony. And that's when you walk through a forest, you feel that symphony. And you can feel it just merge right through your very being. Don't go in there listening to something. Take the pods out. Go and listen to nature.
Sure. Yeah, nature will speak to you very quickly if you do that.
Absolutely. I once walked down a road of trees with my dog, and it was really, they were rustling their leaves like crazy. And I said to him, stop talking all at once. I can't hear you. Every tree stopped. Every leaf stopped. And then it was a gentle rustle after that. And it's like, would you commanding trees now? And I said, no, they were all trying to tell me something at once. And I just asked them to, stop shouting.
I think I've had the opposite, where I see, one leaf on a tree just like waving at me, and I'm like, hello, good morning.
Yeah. Hey, I've got something to tell you.
Right.
And the thing is, we can get out of our mind. You see, this noggin is where the big problem is. Because we've got to understand we are eons upon eons and eons of programming, of expectation, of living in our limitations. And what the universe is telling us, okay, you may be limited somewhat by the physical, but you are not limited by the spirit. And when the spirit comes in, it will show how much more we can do physically, and especially mentally. Because mentally isn't governed just by, we don't even use a fraction of our brain. Yet we are just so programmed. We've got to get free the programming, delete the programming. It's called a virus in your head. Delete it all, be that beautiful blank slate, and allow what really. I used to think this was a problem with me because I lived so presently, and my mother was a beautiful actress. Stage actress, and I tried to follow her path, and I was good at doing the roles but not at remembering lines. And I thought, I was an asthmatic when I was young, so there was a lot of time when I was oxygen deprived, and I went, okay, maybe a little brain damage there, but I couldn't retain it. And it's only later in life I realized I'm not meant to retain what I speak, right? I speak what I speak in the now, for that is what needs to be spoken. And so I could not follow that path. And I used to think it was something that I lacked. And now I realize it's something that I've gained.
Yeah. And that's something that, one of the things I love about human design work is that it really shows us the places where those things become truth. Like some of us are very linear, and we need to have structure, and we need to have guide rails to help us on this path, and we need to memorize. And others of us are meant to be receptive and open, which is what you just described. And that is our way. And that's my way as well. And so it was hard for me to fit into those structures that were asking me to do things in a certain way and memorize and do the test and score high on the test. It was like, it just wasn't my way.
No. And that's the thing, is that's, again, the human way of labeling you, right? And basically, I left school probably either grade 7 or 8 because I was off so much sick, and at 16 I just exempted myself. And I have dyslexia and ADD, which a lot of creatives do have, ADD, right? Because we just see expansion of possibilities. But I could still hold a conversation with people that, from all over the world, because I spoke to the heart and soul.
Exactly.
right? And that was a lot of the time, nobody ever did speak to them like that. They spoke to the credentials and not to the heart and the soul. So I realized that it was an absolute asset and a gift. But it took me a long time to embrace that gift because I was still trying to, look at myself from the human expectation. And, you've got to be this, you've got to be that. And it's like, I ain't got to be anything other than what I am.
Hmm.
That's what Popeye says, right? I am what I am.
Yeah. I mean, I think so many of us struggle with the idea of being an imposter because we
Yes.
haven't taken that traditional route. And yet,
Yes.
so many of us, we learn through our experiences and scraping our knees and getting back up and things that you cannot learn in a textbook, and
Yeah.
trusting that that is enough and that it is the right path, and that it is actually, for us, it's the best path.
Yeah. Well, you talked about human design, which we talked about in your show. I'm a manifesting generator, right? So, it's always for me is generating possibilities. And, we don't know what we can or cannot do until we try,
Exactly.
right? And it's like generating enthusiasm, generating possibilities, generating belief that you can. And it's like me podcasting. My first podcast I didn't even know what a podcast was when somebody asked me to join her network. Like, pressed all the wrong buttons in the first show. It was just, Monty Python's Get Everything went wrong. I was live for the first 13 months while I was with her. And believe me, everything that can go wrong went wrong. And then I started my own platform because I got hooked on the people and the stories. And because I, at that point, was looking at the worst of humanity because I just had something stolen from us, a technology that I became bankrupt out of and living out of my car. And it's like, where am I going now? And this opportunity came up, and I made that discovery of people that have hit rock bottom and chose to rise up, chose to surrender, chose to become, chose to find their strength, their courage, their abilities. And it illuminated me. And I thought, if it illuminates me, it's going to illuminate other people. And so here I am. 13 and a half years later, still doing it. And because I just love hearing people who have faced those challenges and become who they are meant to be, embracing themselves, heart, soul, spirit, mind, body, everything. And it's a beautiful thing to see.
I love that. And I feel like the energy of that speaks loud enough that I don't need to ask a question about that, because I think we know that feeling. We know
Yes.
what it's like to hear those stories. And of
Mm.
course that's going to keep you going. And this also feels like a good place to pause our conversation. And I always like to close by asking the same question. And I'll ask this question of you, which is, what is one simple way that someone could connect with the sacred today?
Out of mind, in heart and soul. You cannot hear your heart, soul, spirit until you feel it. You must feel the soul, the spirit talking to you, the heart connecting, the wisdom coming through you. You feel it first. It's when I know, I feel, you're at peace with it. You don't need to verify, justify, or anything by it. And then the mind has the clarity. Just simply, it has the clarity of what it needs to know when it needs to know it. But if you try to think it, you'll overthink it, you'll talk yourself out of it, you'll miss the connection altogether. Learn to feel and recognize what those feelings are to understand what your thoughts need to be.
Love that. Thank you. And for anyone who wants to stay connected with you, we're going to share all your details in the show notes, but what's the one place would be the best place to go to connect with you?
I'm on Linktree under Sara Troy. I think it's Sara Troy 5, SAR. AR, no H, folks, just Sara, SARA, Troy, TROY 5. But also you can go to choosepositiveliving.com and there's contact there. And it's very easy for the email, choosepositiveliving@gmail.com. And so there's also orchardofwisdom.org if you want to be a guest or want to be a mentor or you want to be a part of the next book. All of that, just reach out. We can have a conversation and see where we can go.
Excellent. Thank you. And I just love the conversation we had today and all the places that we went. And I've enjoyed the previous conversation with you and the talk at the Metaphysical Network here in Nanaimo, and just really appreciate the work that you're doing in the world and the way that you're showing up with your voice and your energy and your spirit. And it was a gift to connect with you today.
Right back at you. And please go and listen to his show, selfdiscoverywisdom.com. Just put in his name, right? And his show will come up. Please listen to it. He shares so much that will benefit you. So please listen, learn, and apply.
Thanks so much, Sarah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us on Sacred Sundays. I hope something in today's offering spoke to your spirit, stirred something true, or simply gave you a moment to breathe. If this conversation resonated, please take a moment to subscribe, rate, or share the podcast. It truly helps this work reach the people who are meant to find it. And if you'd like to explore more of my work or connect with me directly, you can visit rosstayler.com, and that is Taylor with ER.com. Until next time, may your day be slow and sacred.